In elite baseball, the garbage truck runs on a daily schedule. It doesn't care about your contract size, your past glories, or the highlight reels collecting dust on your phone. If you stop producing, you become recyclable material, cleared out to make room for someone who actually earns their spot on the roster. Andrew Friedman just delivered a masterclass in ruthless roster management, and the rest of Major League Baseball is taking notes whether they want to or not. The news that rocked the market this afternoon confirms what many saw coming from miles away. Michael Conforto is packing his bags for Chicago Cubs, and the Dodgers aren't losing a single minute of sleep over his departure. Because buried inside this house-cleaning operation is something far more significant than a simple roster transaction. Los Angeles simultaneously scooped up a raw power project named Jack Suwinski and, in an act of shameless competitive aggression, cleared a runway for Kyle Tucker's arrival in Hollywood. Today, we're carving through every layer of this billion-dollar spring cleaning. We'll expose why Conforto's numbers were a direct insult to the uniform he wore, how baseball's swift justice extracted payment for his decline in the most public way imaginable, and what it means to inject Kyle Tucker into a lineup that was already operating outside the boundaries of fair competition. Before I spread these termination papers across your screen, I'm handing you the executive pen. You're running this franchise right now. Would you have the patience to carry a veteran who hit below 200 last season, waiting and hoping the coaching staff could rebuild his swing from scratch? Or do you do exactly what Friedman did? Cut the infection before it spreads, release the underperformer without ceremony, and import elite blood into your outfield immediately? Think without sentiment. Because inside Dodger Stadium, the tolerance threshold for mediocrity sits permanently at 0. Let's reconstruct the tactical crime scene. Michael Conforto arrived in 2025 carrying the assignment of dependable veteran presence in the outfield, a steady professional who could contribute without demanding the spotlight. What he delivered instead was a sporting atrocity that became increasingly difficult to defend as the season progressed. He closed the year batting a catastrophic .199, producing only 12 home runs across the entire season. His WRC plus of 83 tells the most damning story. He performed 17% worse than the average everyday player in the entire league. He wasn't just below average. He was actively hurting a team built to dominate. The final indignity arrived when Dave Roberts made the only logical decision available to him and removed Conforto from the postseason roster entirely. Think about the gravity of that moment. A player earning a significant major league salary on a team spending hundreds of millions to win a championship was deemed too harmful to include in the October games that define every season's legacy. Conforto arrived believing proximity to Shohei Ohtani and a lineup full of superstars would carry him through the turbulence. Baseball's swift justice delivered a very different verdict. Public exposure on the sport's biggest stage, followed by a quiet exit through the back door. Chicago Cubs can inherit that particular challenge. While that back door closed behind Conforto, the front entrance swung open to reveal two distinctly different but equally calculated acquisitions. The first move demonstrates something Friedman does better than almost any executive in the sport, mining value from other teams' discarded inventory. Jack Suwinski arrives from the Pittsburgh Pirates waiver wire, which means he costs the Dodgers precisely nothing in terms of prospect capital or financial commitment. On the surface, his recent numbers justify Pittsburgh's decision to move on. His last 2 seasons were genuinely rough, producing the kind of slash lines that make scouts look away uncomfortably. But Friedman isn't looking at last year's Suwinski. He's examining 2023's version, the hitter who deposited 26 home runs into the seats and flashed legitimate power potential. The Dodgers' player development infrastructure is one of the sport's most sophisticated laboratories, consistently extracting performances from broken-down hitters that other organizations couldn't manufacture at full health. They identify the mechanical flaw, isolate the correctable element, and rebuild the swing with the patience of craftsmen who know their process works. Suwinski represents a zero-risk, maximum upside reclamation project that costs nothing and could return surprising dividends if the lab works its magic. The second acquisition, however, is where this story transforms from clever housekeeping into outright competitive vandalism. The Conforto departure wasn't executed primarily to save payroll or simplify the roster. It was architectural preparation, deliberate space creation for the incoming Kyle Tucker. Removing a hitter posting a .199 average and replacing him conceptually with one of the most dangerous left-handed bats in the current generation isn't roster management. It's the sporting equivalent of tearing down a condemned building to construct a skyscraper on the same lot. Tucker's offensive profile is the precise weapon Dodgers' opponents dread most. He combines elite on-base skills with genuine power, consistently delivering the kind of production that elevates entire lineups around him. He's not a situational contributor or a platoon piece. He's an everyday force who makes every hitter surrounding him more dangerous simply by occupying the lineup. Slot Tucker into a batting order already featuring Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, and opposing pitching staffs face an impossible series of decisions from the first inning through the ninth. There is no safe harbor in this lineup, no moment where an exhausted reliever can exhale and attack a vulnerability. The broader implication of how Friedman operates this franchise deserves serious examination beyond the individual transactions. What we're witnessing in real time is a system that functions on perpetual reinvention, one that treats roster spots as living, breathing assets subject to constant performance audits rather than guaranteed salaries collecting dust. Conforto's situation illustrates the operational philosophy with brutal clarity. Past contributions, reputation, and veteran status buy exactly zero immunity from accountability. The numbers either justify your presence or they announce your replacement. This creates a clubhouse culture that simultaneously produces the sport's highest performance standards and its most uncomfortable professional environment. Every player wearing Dodger blue understands implicitly that their roster security extends precisely as far as their last productive month. That pressure generates elite performance from those capable of rising to meet it, and accelerates the departure of those who cannot sustain the required level. It is not a comfortable system, but it is an extraordinarily effective one. The league's collective frustration with Los Angeles' methodology is completely understandable and entirely irrelevant to Friedman's decision-making process. When you possess the financial resources to absorb mistakes like Conforto's season without organizational damage, and simultaneously maintain the analytical infrastructure to identify replacements before the need becomes critical, you're operating with advantages that smaller market teams cannot replicate regardless of their intelligence or effort. The playing field isn't level. It's tilted dramatically, and the Dodgers planted their flag at the top of the slope. The operating table is fully assembled, and this tactical chessboard just dropped into your lap. Staring at the ease with which this front office discards its mistakes and absorbs the market's best available talent. Is this a definitive proof that our front office represents the most sophisticated executive operation in sports history? Or has baseball fundamentally broken, leaving Los Angeles running the entire sport on unlimited credit while everyone else plays by different rules? Bring your most unfiltered take to the comments and make your case. Hollywood has never had patience for lazy performances, and this front office just proved that lesson again for the entire league. And do not step away from this channel for even a moment, because while we're renovating our outfield, an unprecedented crisis erupted through the American League East overnight. The Boston Red Sox just delivered a brutal ultimatum to their brightest young star, and the clubhouse atmosphere has completely collapsed. The identity of the player who may force his way out of Boston? I'm revealing every detail in the next video. Stay locked in.